All right, everybody. Hope you're having a good week preparing for the midterm. I see a few people have already taken it. Um, Wanted to give you just sort of a general idea of what to expect on that as we start off here. It's primarily, there's a lot of questions. I think there's something like maybe like 70 some questions on there. A great chunk of that is basically vocabulary. Remember, on your vocabulary, the question actually says, translate this word. So that's why I like to see that, for the cow perfect, I like to see, for achal, he ate rather than just eat or to eat. But I've been flexible on those translations because I know Futato is a little inconsistent with how he gives definitions. If you just translate there when it says translate, and you know how to translate it, you're going to be good. Um, those answers should always automatically come up as correct. But don't forget, if you get marked off on vocabulary because you didn't put precisely the right form, you gave something that's acceptable, I go back through these and I correct that, so you should be okay. Aside from vocabulary, there are a lot of grammar questions from previous quizzes. Questions on gutturals, questions on shava, vocal or silent, questions on dagesh, whether it's weak or strong. Now, there's not a ton of those questions, but those are some previous topics that do come up. A couple others, there's a lot of parsing where you'll get a form and you have to select the person, gender, and number of that form. There are only two extended translations, I believe. So I should probably say something like 2 to 4 or something like that. But I think that there are only a couple of actual sentences that you need to translate. There will be several phrases that you need to translate. So, just a few, maybe 2 or 3 Hebrew words. But as far as an entire sentence goes, where you've got, 5 to 10 Hebrew words, there's only going to be a couple of those, I believe. That's primarily what you're looking at. So study vocabulary, especially previous lessons. Get comfortable with parsing. And then maybe just review some grammar. If shava was difficult for you, maybe go back and review when is shava silent, when is it vocal. Remember, shava is silent when it's preceded by a short vowel. Anytime you've got a letter with both a dagesh and a shava in it, that shava will always be vocal. I think those are the two most important guidelines. I guess then also anytime you have two shavas in the middle of a word that are consecutive, back to back, the first shava will close its syllable, so it'll be silent. The second shava will open the next syllable, so it will be vocal. And then dagesh, if you've got a Begad Kafat letter and it is preceded by a short vowel, or really a vowel, it'll usually be short, but if it's preceded by a vowel sound, that is going to be a doubling dagesh, the strong dagesh. If it's preceded by a consonantal sound, that is the syllable before it is closed, then that is a weak dagesh. So hopefully that's a good, summary of what you need to review, what you need to expect to see on the midterm. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to send them to me. That's not due until Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Time. So I hope everybody does well. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. I recommend not waiting until the last minute. You will have, I believe, 2 hours on it. But if you started at 10 p.m. or later thinking I'm not going to use the whole time, if something goes wrong, there's not a lot I can do at 10 p.m. So I can't really reset your, Saturday evenings I'm preparing for church. So I'm probably going to be asleep by 10 p.m. I won't get any messages at that point. So I would take your time, you don't have to take it before you're ready. But if you wait until 10 p.m. to take it, I can't really reset the quiz for you if something goes wrong. All right, enough said on the quiz, or the midterm rather. I wanted to look at one question that I got regarding last week's quiz. There was a question about this translation here, number 22. Well, it may have been a different number, and maybe you didn't even see this one because your questions are individually pulled from a pool of questions. But some of you saw this translation on your quiz last week, Unit 7, and there was just a question about how to go through this. So the first word that we have here, zavachtem. This is a Cal Perfect 2 MP form, as indicated by the tem suffix, tav, segel, mem. Cal Perfect 2 MP form of zavach. Zavach is the verbal form for sacrifice or slaughter. So this would be translated as you, it would be masculine plural, but you slaughtered or you sacrificed. You slaughtered or sacrificed what? Et ha-zevach. Alright? So here, zevach, this is the noun form of sacrifice. You see that it's definite. It's got the definite article on here and the definite direct object marker. So this would be, you all slaughtered the sacrifice, singular. Or you all sacrificed the sacrifice would be acceptable as well. But it's pretty straightforward once you understand that zavach is the verbal form and zevach is the noun form. All right, let's take a look at Unit 7, Futato exercises. Pull up the assignment here. We're going to look at A, B, C, and G. All right, so A, we're looking at just translating prepositional phrases. So el mizbeach is to or toward an altar. There's no definite article here, so it's an altar. Betoch mizbeach. Betoch is betoch really means like within or in the midst of. So it's odd that that would go with mizbeach, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense semantically. Let me see if he gives another definition here that I'm not thinking of. I want betoch. Within, in the midst of. All right. Within an altar. That's okay. I mean, that's what he says. It's weird. I'm not sure when you would say within an altar, because altars usually don't have compartments that you would put things in. But yeah, betoch is within or sometimes in the midst of an altar. Number 3 makes a lot more sense. Al would be on or on top of or upon an altar. Again, all of these are indefinite. Lifnei mizbeach would be before or in the presence of an altar. Tachat mizbeach would be below or underneath or just under an altar. And then im mizbeach, im is with, so kind of the idea of accompaniment with an altar, alongside an altar, something like that. Kemizbeach, again, this is indefinite. There's no sign of the article here. Kemizbeach would be something like as an altar. And then here, Kam-mizbeach, here we do see the sign of the article. We see the patach and the dagesh. Of course, the kaf, this covers over the hey of the definite article, but we can see that this would be as the altar. All right, number 9, we've got, now ignore all this. This was for a point that I was making previously when I'd gone through these, so ignore all this for now. This has to do with what you see here in number 14. So I'll come back to these, but these are not definitions. All right, so number 9, we have le mizbeach, so to an altar or for an altar. Lam mizbeach, this is going to be for the altar or to the altar. Bam mizbeach would be either at the altar, is probably how I would translate it, but it could also be in the altar or with the altar. Bem mizbeach, again, this would be without the article, so this would be at an altar. Min ha mizbeach. Min is from the altar, so from the altar. But then we've got the indefinite form here, mimizbeach. All right. Now, what I was doing over here was I was kind of illustrating how this assimilated nu works. So you can see whenever noon closes a syllable, it will often assimilate into the next letter. That doesn't happen in the hey here because hey can't take a dagesh. But when min gets right next to this mem, which can take a dagesh, the noon assimilates into that mem. We actually have this assimilation of an N letter. We actually have this in English as well. So you think of words like incapable or indirect or inability. These words all have the in prefix. In is a negative prefix. It basically negates what it's attached to. So someone who is incapable is not capable. Something that is indirect is not direct. Someone with an inability has no ability for something. So in here is the actual prefix. But depending on what it's getting attached to, sometimes this in will shift and it will assimilate with the letter that it gets attached to. Now, the letters where this happens in English are usually the liquids and the nasals. Okay, so nasals are M and N. If you make those sounds and what nasal means is that the sound is actually occurring in the nose. So and if you try to plug your nose there, it's harder to make those sounds. Those sounds are being expressed through the nose. And All right, and then liquids are going to be the L, the R, maybe the W, but W doesn't really factor in here. So the L and the R. What happens when we've got an in prefix next to a liquid or a nasal is that in assimilates. So we don't say illegal, we say illegal. We don't say immeasurable, we say immeasurable. We don't say irregular, we say irregular. All right, so this assimilation actually occurs in English as well. So it's the same thing that's happening here in number 14. The mizbeach is going to be from an altar, but that noon is assimilating into the mem, and so it doubles the mem, just like we do in immeasurable. It's not immeasurable, it's immeasurable. All right. Moving on, we've got meir. So this is the other thing that happens with min. Here we have a guttural, so we can't have a dagesh in the guttural. So the noon is just going to drop off, and to compensate for the loss of the noon, that hirik is going to lengthen to a sere. So meir is going to be from a city. Be'ir, at a city or in a city. There's 17, la'ir, to a city or for a city. La'ir, this is the sign of the definite article. We would have a patak and a dagesh, but again, ir doesn't take a dagesh, and so the patak lengthens to a kametz. La'ir, for the city or to the city. Number 19, ke'eretz. Ke'eretz here, this is as a land or as an earth, but often, well, I would stick with land usually in your translation of Eretz. The idea that we have of earth, we use earth in a couple different ways. Earth refers to like ground or dirt, digging into the earth, but we also use earth obviously as the name of our planet. That name earth, I would recommend you not associate Eretz with the name of our planet Earth, because in the Hebrew worldview, the only reason we know of Earth as a planet is we've seen pictures of our spherical planet before. Um, the ancients didn't think of Earth from the perspective of space. They didn't have any pictures of, um, the Earth from space before. So oftentimes when we translate Eretz as Earth, we can communicate the idea of like the globe. That's not necessarily what the ancient Hebrews were thinking. Now, land could refer to the entire world, because you've got the idea of land is what we stand on. So I'm not saying that it can't refer to the world as a whole. I'm just saying that if you use this as land, you're going to be more likely to hit on what the ancient Hebrews were thinking here. So, as a land is how I would translate this. And then ka'aretz, this is going to be as the land. All right. Section B here, Vav conjunction. We've got ata vehu. This is going to be you and he. Number 2, mizbeach vezevach. This is going to be altar and sacrifice. Kohen venavi, priest and prophet. Lev venefesh, heart and life, heart and soul. Ir uvayet. This is the bump rule here. Anytime you have a bump letter, B, bait, mem, or pay, the vav is going to shift to a shurik, the u sound. So uvayet rather than vevayet. Ir uvayet is going to be city and house. Kohen umelech, again bump rule, mem. Kohen umelech, priest and king. Bain uvat, son and daughter. Haim va'anachnu, they and we. All right, then I think we've got section C is next. Yeah, C and then G. All right, so translations here. Al haderech, this would be upon the road. The el ha'ir, and into the city or toward the city. Number 2, im hanavi. So this is the accompaniment with, along with, the prophet, the lifnei, and in the presence of the king. Betoch, within the kingdom, hamalkut is the kingdom. So within the kingdom and to the king. Within the kingdom and to or for the king. You see the patach dagesh sign of the definite article here. All right, number 4, me'ir, from a city, uvayet, from a city and a house. Bevain u bavat, bevain u vavat, in a, this is either be in a son or with a son or at a son, and at a daughter or with a daughter. So with a son and with a daughter. Number 6, we get the definite articles. You can see the dagesh and the patach in both of these. So Babain u vabat, with the son and with the daughter. Number 7, la Adam, so to the man or for the man. The la El, and to the God. Number 8, Ki'ish, so ke again is like as or like, as a man and as the woman, or like a man and like the woman. And then G, we've got 8 of those. So halakti, this is the verb halak, he went. 1 CS suffix, so I went with HaKohen, the priest. Where did I go? To Hamizbeach. I went with the priest to the altar. Na Tana, so this is Natan, he gave, but it's 3 FS, so she gave. Who gave? We've got a definite noun, but we don't have the definite direct object marker, so this is going to be the subject. She gave. Who gave? The mother. So the mother gave what? Et habeged. The mother gave the garment or the clothing to the daughter. Shamu, so this is Shema, he heard, but it's 3 CP. So they heard. What did they hear? The king and the prophet. They heard the king and the prophet. Shama'u again, they heard. Now here, the king does not have the definite direct object marker, so the king is part of the subject, but it's plural, so we need something else. The Hanavi. So here, the king and the prophet heard. What did they hear? Hadavarim. The king and the prophet heard the words. Number 5. Shalachtem, so this is from Shalach, he sent. Shalachtem is cow perfect 2MP, so you all, sirs, you all sent. Sent what? Et HaKohen. You all sent the priest, and et, and the sacrifice to Milchama, to the battle. Number 6, Yashavnu. This is from Yashav. He sat or he dwelled. But 1 CP ending here. Nu is the 1 CP. So this is we dwelt with the family, Hamishpachat, the family, in the land and in the city. Number 7, Shamru. This is Shamar. He kept, or he guarded, or he observed. 3 CP. So they guarded. Who guarded? Ha'av ve'ha'em. The father and the mother kept or guarded. Guarded what? Habaim, the son and the daughter, upon the way. So the father and the mother guarded or observed the son and the daughter along the way. Number 8, lo lakach. Lakach, again, is he caught or he took. He did not take. Who did not take? Ha'am, the people did not take. Did not take what? Hamalkut. The people did not take the kingdom for God. Or they did not seize or capture the kingdom for God. All right, well, that's everything. Hopefully that's helpful to you. If you have any questions, send them my way. Good luck on the midterm, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.